Have you ever walked through a forest and just had that feeling like you were missing something? Like there's this whole conversation happening right under your nose? Well, today, we're going to learn how to read that hidden language. We're diving into the chapter, Fundamentals of the Art, from the book, The Art of Tracking, and we're zeroing in on the subchapter, Sign Classification. This is basically where we learn the alphabet of the wild. So take a look at this landscape. For most of us, it probably seems pretty quiet, maybe even a bit empty. But what if I told you it's absolutely packed with stories? We're talking dramas, journeys, and daily routines, all written down for us to find. The only question is, do we know how to read them? And that, right there, is the key. An expert tracker doesn't see an empty patch of woods. They see a story unfolding. According to the book's introduction, the real trick isn't just to read the book of nature, but to read into the sand, really using your imagination to connect all the clues and build that story. Now, the one big concept we need to get our heads around is spoor. And no, it's not just about footprints. In the world of tracking, spoor means every single sign a creature leaves behind. Think of it as the vocabulary for all the stories we're about to uncover. Okay, so let's start where the story is usually the clearest, right there on the ground. Our first heading is ground spoor. These are often the most direct and detailed words you'll find, but you definitely have to train your eyes to see things in a whole new way. You see, ground spoor exists on a spectrum. On one end, you've got the really obvious stuff, like a perfect footprint in some soft mud. Can't miss it. But the real skill, as the book points out, is seeing what's on the other end of that spectrum. We're talking about incredibly subtle signs, like a single overturned pebble or a crushed leaf, that most of us would walk right by without a second thought. It's all about noticing any little break in the natural pattern. And this is a perfect illustration of the kind of detail we're talking about. A single overturned stone can reveal a specific moment in time. Its darker underside, the part that hasn't been bleached by the sun, is now facing up. That tiny, fleeting detail is a clue, a single letter in the word that tells you something passed this way, and pretty recently too. But the story doesn't just stay on the ground. For our second heading, we have to look up and around us into the vegetation itself. The narrative continues right there in what the book calls vegetation disturbance. When an animal moves through an area, it's kind of like a ripple in a pond. It leaves this trail of subtle disturbances. Grass gets bent over, leaves are turned, exposing their lighter-colored undersides. On a cool morning, an animal can leave a dark trail just by brushing the dew off the grass. Heck, even something as delicate as a cobweb can tell you if a path has been used recently. Every single sign is like a piece of forensic evidence. All right, now we're going to get into the really personal stuff. The next part of the story covers the headings excreta and feeding signs and saliva, and it comes from the biological clues an animal leaves behind. This is basically the animal's signature. I mean, this is where a tracker gets a super detailed biography of the animal. As you can see here, droppings can tell you about diet and how old this sign is. The position of urine can even hint at the animal's sex. And something as temporary as saliva on a half-eaten leaf, that's a fantastic clue for how recently the animal was there, simply because it evaporates so fast. These aren't just signs, it's like reading pages from the animal's personal journal. So after looking at all these specific signs, let's kind of zoom out and think about the bigger picture here. What we've actually been doing, classifying all these clues, it isn't just some rustic skill. The book argues that it's actually the foundation of scientific thinking itself. Seriously, think about it like this. A tracker first observes the evidence, all that spoor we just talked about. Next, they organize that data by classifying what they see. And finally, they form a hypothesis. They build a story that explains what happened. The author points out that this process is the very core of what we call hypothetico-deductive reasoning, which is the same method that drives modern science. And this right here is the magic key. It's not just about cold, hard facts. As the book says, the best trackers make this amazing imaginative leap. They project themselves into the animal's position and ask, okay, what would I be doing if I were that animal? It's this empathetic, creative step that turns a bunch of disconnected signs into a real, coherent story. So the next time you're outside, just look a little closer. The world is writing stories all the time. You've just learned the first few letters of its alphabet. The only question left is, what stories are you going to discover?